What is up, guys? 1Z Gaming back here. So I know, like I said, it's been some time, but I figured I'd drop another, ranking of the 12 classes or whatnot video for you guys. So just full disclosure for this video, this isn't, a end-all be-all list. This isn't something it's, anything other than just my opinion of what I've found through farming as the most effective classes and the specs that I play them as. So keep in mind if something is lower or higher or something, it could just be I just don't play as the spec that's optimal for that. It's just, that's just the way it is. I paid for my WoW membership a lot through doing these old school raid farming and whatnot, and it's just kind of, so I've done it a lot, and I have kind of a rough idea of, what I like and what I'm looking for. So I want to thank you guys for all the support as well lately. Like I said, it's been so crazy with my work, and I've been trying to upload, and it's hard because I get home, I'm only awake for at least a few hours, and I have to catch up on everything I had to do during that day, and I have the 2 jobs, and it's really rough. I started going to the gym too, so it's a compilation of a lot of things. But I want to thank you guys. I'm gonna upload as much as I can. I love you guys, and I hope you guys do enjoy this video. At number 12, we have the Priest. And the Priest, I think, took a big back seat on this farming thing because of how they changed Shadow with Mindseer or Mindflayer. I forgot what the AoE was called. Excuse me. It's definitely the class I have the least amount of stick time on. It's actually not that bad. It was really hard for me. It was harder than I thought for me to put a top 12 list together because I was like, everything is actually just really good at farming this old content. There's not really anything that's absolutely terrible at it. Number 11, I think, could have been here. Number 12 and 11 were very close to me at the bottom. And it's just, you could say whatever you want about it, but as far as the farming, I feel like Holy is the optimal spec now for Priest to farm this old stuff, especially Cataclysm, which I'm doing in this one here. This Priest can definitely handle Mop and stuff like that, but I didn't want to do constant Mogushan vaults on this video. I didn't want every single class to be doing Mogushan vaults, so I switched it up, and I was like, well, I'm gonna have the classes do different things. So I just figured I'll just have them do different things. But Priest at number 12, and the main weakness with Priest is the AoE, but the strengths that it has is the self-healing and whatnot. You have hots, you have damage over time, stuff like that. It's really cool. It's a really good class. They're not gonna die, but I have it at 12 just because of the lack of AoE. Now at number 11, I got the Rogue, and the Rogue, I did this as Assassination, and the main glaring issue with this is the lack of AoE. I mean, that's really all it really came down to for me. And like I said, it could have came down to this, could have, between this and the Priest, and I just decided to end up going with the Rogue at number 11 and the Priest at number 12. But just the glaring lack of AoE was the part that hurt this. And I even have the Legendary Ring that adds to that, and it's still, it's still pretty bad. It's not great. If you can proc an Envenom and stuff like that, things just absolutely melt. But without that proc, it does kind of hurt. This was on 25 Heroic Mogushan Vaults, and I believe this was the only one I did 25 Heroic Mogushan Vaults on the recording. I didn't even mean to do it on Heroic. It just kind of happened. But then again, I know some people are going to, they're going to hate on this or whatnot. But this isn't me saying that the class itself is bad or that any of these classes are bad in any way. This is just my opinion on what I feel like are the better, farming classes in the game for those of you guys that want to run through and farm this old content. Now, the strengths for the Assassination Rogue are actually very simple. They do a buttload of damage. The single target damage, the sustainable damage with their bleeds and whatnot on these bosses is just unreal. So any bosses with stun effects or anything like that, the Rogue will probably be just fine in because of the bleeds that they have. On top of that, the defensive cooldowns that this Rogue has are great. Cloak of Shadows, Evasion, plus the potion that you get for healing yourself gives them nice sustainability in these fights. Of course, there are optimal farming. You could probably go into Leech Poison, which is probably a better option for farming if you're farming some of the harder stuff. But, everything else seems to be fine, and I actually did really enjoy farming on this character. But like I said, the glaring weakness being the lack of AoE is what really put the Rogue where it is. All right, at number 10, we have the Druid. So the Druid, the reason why I have it this low is because I main my Druid as Restoration, and the other artifact weapons I have are Cat and Feral, or I'm sorry, Cat and Guardian. Now I know that Cat Druid is just not exceptional at this kind of stuff. The AoE is kind of weak. It's not terrible because there's not really anything that's like I said earlier, there's not really anything that's like terrible. But I know that the optimal farming spec for Druids right now is Boomkin, but I just don't have a Boomkin. I don't play Boomkin. I haven't played Boomkin since the WoD changes. And this was my main farming class in WoD was Boomkin Druid. But I did switch to Guardian. I just want to try this whole tanking thing. I keep hearing about how amazing Guardian tanks are, so I just wanted to check it out and see, how I liked it. Now the strengths for Guardian, obviously the strengths for doing anything with a tanking spec is you could essentially really pull everything you want, especially in this one, which is a Cataclysm dungeon. I mean, you could pull anything. This is one of the most popularly farmed raids. People still farm Firelands like crazy because there is still really good money in it. It was nerfed, but it's still exceptional. So people still farm this on the regular. But like I said, the strengths here, just being a bear is just amazing. And then Druids in general have their own self-healing. You being able to use Moonfire in bear form is sweet. It's just another dot that you could throw on them. But other than that, like some weaknesses, bear is kind of slow. It's definitely not as quick as feral, especially, even I don't know if they have the Displacer Beast in Guardian. I don't think that it's there. But that speeds things up. And then you have your bear charge, your Stampeding Roar, I think it's called. Plus you have Kitty Sprint. So they're not too slow, but it is pretty awesome. But I do have them at number 10. And like I said, the main thing is just the speed. I understand, like I said earlier, I understand that Boomkins are like the way to go for this kind of stuff, but I just don't play Boomkin this expansion. So at number 9, I got the Warlock. So this is one that I thought for sure was going to be my shoe in at number 12. I was like, Affliction Warlock is going to be number 12. That's just the way it's going to be. Absolutely surprised me because my main thing is like the AoE, AoE, it's such a big part of this old school farming, AoEing and survivability and just, the damage that you can do and whatnot. Now, the great thing is with this artifact weapons, when something dies, I believe it's if something dies when it's affected by your corruption. Don't quote me on that. It's something like that. It blows up and does this huge damage. Now, when you throw a Seed of Corruption out there and it puts corruption on everything, and then everything dies or, things start popping, everything starts just blowing up. And the AoE actually really, really surprised me with the Affliction Lock. Now, the strengths of the Affliction Lock being its survivability anyway have been insane. None of these things are going to kill the Affliction Lock, and just being able to dot things and keep moving, you don't really have to stop. Now, like the big weakness with the Affliction Lock is they are terribly slow. I was going to say a lot like a Paladin, but their Paladins have Crusader, where they have the horse that they can ride. So it's not even that bad. They're just slow. Warlocks are just slow. So that being their main weakness. But as far as like for this old school farming, Warlocks are, they're still very good. And, like I said, the AoE surprised me a lot with these guys, like way more than I expected them to do. So like I was saying, this video is really hard to judge because everything is just so good at these old school things, like up to mop. So I had to like get really picky with things and whatnot. So at number 8, I have the Death Knight, and it really just came down to the speed. I mean, the AoE on a Frost Death Knight is insane. And they have like the best cooldown with Breath of Sindragosa because it'll reset if it kills a boss or if it does damage to a boss. The cooldown resets, so you like one-shot Cataclysm bosses with it, which is just, it's the funniest thing. It's just amazing. But the main thing for them is the speed. Really only having Wraithwalk, it's better than Warlock, obviously. But the AoE with Frost DKs is just nuts. Like you're just able to just carve anything up. They have good cooldowns, good defensive cooldowns, and I mean, there's really not much that I could say bad about them. We're getting to, like the next 7 that I have to choose, that I have to rank. It was so hard for me to do, but we have Frost DK at number 8. Their strengths being just their amazing AoE, DPS, and damage, and their weaknesses, of course, being the speed. But as far as anything else goes, like Frost DK it's so much fun. I'm having more and more fun with my Frost DK. I know you guys were asking me because it sounded like I had some hate for the Frost DK, and I didn't want it to sound like that. It just is something that I haven't played a ton of this expansion. Just wasn't really feeling it, but lately I have really been feeling it. So there might be more Frosty Cave videos in the very, very near future. So like I said, it was really hard for me to do these last 8 especially, but at number 7 I did Mage, and this could be entirely due to the fact that I did this as Frost. I'm sure that if it was Arcane, it would be much higher up. I'm not denying that at all, because I know there's going to be those guys that are going to be like, well, you should have done this as Arcane. It would have been a lot better if you did it as Arcane. I completely understand that. I feel like it probably would be a lot better as Arcane. Probably even Fire even. I'm not sure, how Flamestrike would compare against Blizzard in this old school stuff. But I do have it at number 7, with the strengths of Mage just being the sheer amount of DPS that they're able to just kind of whip out. The burst DPS that they have with Frost Mages, like Glacial Spike is amazing on this old school stuff. Like, you see crits as high as like 13 mil, which is pretty cool. Like, you're just like, all right, see you later. Actually probably higher. I think I saw a little high. I think I saw like 16 million. Anyway, it doesn't really matter at this level. But the speed, Blink is not bad. As far as like speed goes, it's on a short cooldown, and then the defensive with frozen armor, with ice armor, frost armor. I totally forgot the name. I'm sorry. It's late, but time warp and icy veins and mirror image and all that good stuff. The weakness being they can't really take a lot of hits. So like if they get beat on by a physical boss, they typically have you'll see the health go down, but typically they won't even get through the armor itself. But like I said, if this was Arcane, it might be a little more, because I think you get 2 blinks as Arcane, plus the amount of AoE that Arcane has is pretty cool. So I would imagine that it would have been higher, but for right now, I have Mage at number 7. Now this one was rough for me. I decided to try it as Fury, because with Fury you could just spam Whirlwind and everything just kind of melts down around it. Now I think maybe Arms with Bladestorm, even Fury with Bladestorm might have been better, but I wasn't entirely sure. I'm not even optimized for Fury. I haven't played Fury in a while. I think my spec is insanely outdated. If I I don't even think it's dated at all. I just don't think my Fury spec is just what it's supposed to be at all, or my gear, whatever. Anyway, Fury Warrior at number 6, or just Warrior at number 6. I feel like this would have been better as protection or arms, but it is what I gave it a shot as. It is what I typically farm as on Fury. The big weakness for warriors is their speed. Heroic Leap is nice and everything. It is kind of a long cooldown, even when you spec into not Unbridled Fury, whatever it's called. Even when you spec into that, it's still kind of slow. So that's like their big thing. Their AoE is pretty good. It's a lot better if I would have went into Bladestorm and stuff like that, but Dragon Roar into just spamming whirlwinds and the Fury artifact weapon, it does quite a bit of damage, so it does melt things down. But the big thing with Fury is the cooldowns are sweet. 100% critical strike rating with Dragon Roar, and you do like Avatar, and you just kind of melt things down. Like, nothing really stands a chance at that point. So, but like I said, I am not spec'd optimally for this, but I do understand the power of the Fury build when it's built correctly, really. But all in all, I really like Fury. They don't take a ton of damage. They actually have pretty good self-healing, and the survivability is there. They have pretty good defensive cooldowns, and commanding shout and whatnot. So I do really like, and especially when you get into execute phase, I do have the ring. So the ring does proc in Fury, which I like. For some reason, I thought it was an arms only thing. I'm like, oh, it's an arms only ring. I don't know why I thought that. For the longest time, I thought that. But I do have Fury at number 6, and these last 5 were so hard for me to choose. Which one I would deem as the best or my favorite for old school farming. At number 5, I got the Paladin. To me, the Paladin and the Warrior were so close together, and it just kind of came down to the Paladin, to me, has the better farming abilities. If that makes sense at all, it probably won't. Because the reliability of Holy Power, I'm not a huge fan of it. But, with Zeal and stuff like that, Zeal's really nice in these farming things. The amount of AoE they have with Divine Storm, and just the artifact power itself is really nice. The mobility of Paladins is really nice. Like, as protection, they farm really well. As ret, they farm really well. It just, to me, all around, I really, really like farming on a Paladin. They have really nice cooldowns with their 100% parry cooldown that I'm so, eye for an eye. That's the one I'm looking for. And then they have a shield. They got their stuns. They got bubbles. They got all kinds of awesome stuff. I really, really, really enjoy the Paladin. The strengths of it just being like the straight up burst with their cooldowns. They have a lot of survivability and really good self-healing. Why they are lower or why they are not lower, it comes down to the speed itself. Now riding the horse inside is awesome and whatnot, but it is kind of a long cooldown. You do get 2 charges if you spec into it. I do recommend you spec into it for farming, but it is kind of a long cooldown and, for a short payoff, but that payoff is pretty nice. That 100% speed for, I think it's 3 seconds or 4, it might even be 2, but it feels like 3 or 4. But I do have Paladins here at number 5. At number 4, I have the Hunter. Now, these last 5 were so hard for me because all of them are just so extremely strong in farming. They all have their strengths. These top 5 are all they do great AoE, great single target, big. They're quick. They have their cooldowns they can use for speed. Hunter being aspect of the cheetah, and then post haste with disengage. Really, really enjoy Hunter, and just Hunter in general is just really good for this farming stuff because of the pets. The pets make things so much easier. They make things tankable and all kinds of stuff. I didn't really need it for this, but when you misdirect your pet so your pet can get some threat and all that good stuff. I didn't need it for this, but that option is available. The Hunter strengths being the pets themselves, the amount of AoE that they can do, especially if you're spec'd into it. They have really nice cooldowns as far as defensively with Aspect of the Turtle and Exhilaration. Feign Death is amazing too. I have the legendary helmet, so my Feign Death does heal me as well. I'd really like to, I probably should have done this in High Maul, to be honest with you, because the Hunter can easily push through High Maul. Just the main problem is you're not guaranteed loot in High Maul. Those of you guys that know, because you guys might ask, why didn't you go into Warlords or Draenor raids? Well, the amount of gear that drops is dependent on how many people are in your group. So until that changes, I don't know if that's even changed. I haven't checked in a while. I feel like that should be something that changes. But until that changes, it's not really lucrative to farm it unless you're just willing to go there to try to get some pretty cool transmogs. But other than that, I have Hunter at number 4. In the top 3, I'm sure some of you guys are going to like, you guys know, yeah, I know, Demon Hunter is in the top 3. I get it. But you may be surprised. So this one surprised the hell out of me when I started farming with it. Now, for as long as I've been farming these old school content with my Shaman, it's been enhancement. And enhancement was fine with the stuff. Crash Lightning was pretty cool. The AoE from, like I said, from Crash Lightning was nice. But doing it on Elemental, was amazing. The amount of AoE damage or, DPS that an Elemental Shaman puts out is excellent. It's freaking awesome. They have Chain Lightning, which is, it's Chain Lightning. It's awesome. With Earthquake, and then they have the Shockwave, or if you can spec into Sundering. I believe it's Sundering. Is that what you can spec into? I don't remember. Anyway, that actually might be enhancement. But they're amazing. They have the self-healing, the pretty good self-healing, and then really, really nice cooldowns, especially for old school bosses that go down pretty quickly. You can use their cooldowns, heroism, and all kinds of good stuff. Reincarnation if you mess up and need to do that. But it is awesome. They got their totems and all that good stuff. Really, really surprised by an Elemental Shaman. And on top of that, they have Ghost Wolf form, which is always available to them. So it helps with the speed of some of these that you can't mount up in. And again, I was just so surprised by how efficient Elemental Shaman farming is. And I really think that it might be one of my favorite, up and coming. This was one of my first times doing this as Elemental. I played Elemental back in, I don't think I've actually ever, I started thinking about it and I was like, no, pre-Cata, I was Restoration. Cataclysm, I may have played a little bit of Elemental. And then WoD, I switched to Enhancement and then played Enhancement through this expansion until I decided to give Elemental a shot. So yeah, Elemental was my least amount played with Shaman, but I absolutely, absolutely love it. So for farming, I give Elemental just 2 thumbs up. And at numero dos is the Demon Hunter. Now, this is one that I had primed that I'm like, this is going to be the number 1. They are probably the fastest class in the game. We probably have the most AoE. Everything about Demon Hunter screams, farming gods. And they really are. So for those of you that have been keeping count and keeping track, that means that Monk is number one. And I just wanted to say they were so close to Demon Hunter. Like those two, it ultimately came down to, I think Monk actually has the edge in speed with 2 charges of Chi Torpedo plus the dragon kick one. Like, I think that a Monk can get around quicker. It would be a good race with double Fell Rush, Vengeful Retreat plus Blur from the art. It would be a good race. That would actually be a really good race. That would be a good race. But it came down to ultimately between the two of them. I mean, it was so hard for me to differentiate and choose which one would be better. So I'm going to do both of them right now, with Demon Hunter at number 1 and Monk at number 2. It was just so hard for me to choose. And to me, it just ultimately came down to like Touch of Karma and Touch of Death just being absolutely game breaking, especially in this old school stuff. Touch of Karma especially just amazing in a lot of these mechanics. So I gave these very, very, very slight edge to Monk. So Monk will be number 1, for this, and Demon Hunter sitting at number 2. So without further ado, like I said, number 1 being Monk. Just the amount of like sheer AoE is amazing for Monk. The artifact power, if you can round everything up and just artifact power everything down, it's a GG. Like nothing in the old school stuff lives through that. It's kind of amazing. Touch of Death and Touch of Karma, amazing cooldowns for this. The double charge of Chi Torpedo if you're spec'd into that. Otherwise you get roll, which is still fine. And then it's amazing. Like the amount of AoE you got Spinning Crane Kick, Fist of Fury, the artifact power, Swirling Dragon Kick if you're spec'd into that as well. But it's so good, and they're quick, they're fast, they have self-healing. It's great. I can go on and on about it, but I really enjoyed farming on a Monk. And it was, I would love to see a Monk and Demon Hunter with the same gear level race each other and see in the same dungeon, same difficulty, like a 25 heroic Mogushan Vault. And I would love to see which one would have the edge. I feel like the Monk would win. Maybe it would be a good race. I would love to see that. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I want to thank you guys for the support. I'm sorry for the length of this video. I went as quickly as I could. I didn't think it would be over 20 minutes long, but that's just the way it was. So if you guys did make it this far, thank you. I really appreciate all the support. I hope you guys did enjoy this. And again, we have more. If you guys want to see any more rankings or anything, let me know. I'll try to make them quicker and quicker as I go along, and like cliff notes and stuff like that. But I want to thank you guys for the support. Thank you so much. I'm sorry again for the attendance lately, but I really do appreciate the support, and I will catch you guys at the next video.